Reason number four to study consumer behavior is predictive analytics. So, predictive analytics employ a variety of techniques from statistics, modeling, and data mining to analyze current and historical consumer data to develop models that predict likely preferences, future events, and next actions. So, predictive models can help us anticipate consumer needs, detect preferences, improve message timing, increase relevancy, engender loyalty, improve sales, so on and so forth. We know that places like Amazon use predictive analytics, right? So they actually try to predict what you might buy when. And part of the reason they do that is to kind of improve sales and all these other things. But they also do it as a method of making sure they have distribution, right? So if you're trying to get shipping out in one day, you want to make sure you have products that Cassandra, me, would like in a location that's one day away, right? Um, so predictive analytics is huge right now. And I will tell you very clearly that of all the sub-disciplines of marketing, this is where you're going to make the most money right out of college. Um, to get into predictive analytics, one, you're going to want to make sure you're taking big data and data mining classes right now. You're going to want to make sure that you understand statistics quite well. And that you're comfortable with these things. One of the things I'll kind of, as a side note, mention is that a lot of people will go into a degree like marketing because they think that marketing doesn't use a lot of math. I'm here to tell you that I use statistics every day. Um, I I love statistics. I was a statistics tutor in college. But marketing is reaching the point now where we are so statistics heavy, we're so math heavy that a lot of jobs require it. So if you're the type of person who walks through the door saying, I don't really like math, I'm going to choose marketing because math is not that important, you're really limiting yourself and your income potential from a marketing standpoint. I truly believe that predictive analytics and statistical modeling will be so big that there are no other sub-disciplines of marketing, be it sales, digital marketing, so on and so forth, that essentially won't fall the same way. Not only will you need to know things like Photoshop, you're also going to need to know predictive analysis. And so I would encourage you to take at least one class before you leave Wayne on that subject. This is my favorite example of predictive analysis, and I'm sure some of you probably already know this story. So, a while back, several years ago, maybe five or so, there was a guy who went to check his mailbox and he sees an ad, or I'm sorry, a letter, like a little advertisement deal from Target addressed to his 16-year-old daughter. And he opened it up and it was coupons for baby related goods. So here's $10 off some Pampers and here's $5 off some baby formula, stuff like this. He gets so upset. He gets in his car, he drives down to the nearest Target and curses out. He asks for the manager, curses out the manager. The gist of his conversation was, "How dare you send this stuff to my daughter? She's only 16 years old. What the heck is wrong with you?" So on and so forth. I'm not sure about cursing out the manager because I'm going to assume the manager wasn't the one who made a decision on what type of coupons to send this family, but who am I? But this is what he did. He gets home, he tells the story to his wife, and they're like, "How dare they?" They're all outraged. The next week, his daughter comes to tell him and his wife that she's pregnant. How did Target know that she was pregnant? Well, Target monitors what you buy. And using their predictive models, they had figured out that women who start buying certain things within a certain time frame are very likely pregnant, right? Women who buy cocoa butter for stretch marks, women who buy cotton balls, women who buy, extra let's say milk. I don't know what exactly they found in their model that predicts your likelihood of being pregnant, but whatever it is, they were able to predict the fact that this lady was pregnant without her doing anything like registering for, a baby shower or anything like that, right? Target knew she was pregnant maybe even before she did, based on predictive models. And so, are predictive models cool? Yes. Are they interesting? Yes. Can they help retailers and marketers? Absolutely. If the goal is to predict behavior, predictive models do that. And so I always think that that's a funny story. Other applications of data mining could be market analysis. You could see, for example, how well stores or companies are in that particular area are doing. So I assume there are some companies that are doing some market analysis of downtown Detroit to see if they should put their business downtown. We could say that H&M probably did some level of market analysis. I live downtown. I'll be honest, I never see people going into H&M, but I'm sure they did some level of market analysis before they decided to open up shop downtown Detroit. You could also use data mining for fraud detection, to analyze patterns that deviate from expected norms. So for example, I don't know if you own a credit card, but there are times that I've been reached out to by my credit card company because something happened that they thought deviated from the norm for me. For text mining, you could use data mining for that. So you can filter messages in terms of newspaper article analysis. You could filter the comment section of those articles. You could use data mining for web mining to look at the content and the usage and the structure of web resources. Data mining can be used for so many things. It's such a hot area. If you're interested in data mining, there are different classes that we have at the business school. I highly recommend that you consider them. People with a background in data mining tend to get good jobs, I guess is the best way to put that. And so something to think about. Reason number 5, we need to study consumer behavior. Why study consumer behavior? We need to have consumer insights. It is not enough to just observe behavior. Predictive analytics is not enough. We need to know consumer specifics, and I'll give you an example of why this will be. Who has ever gone out to dinner with a group of people? I have, you have, I'm sure we all have. Dan Ariely, who you hear me mention a couple of times in class, who does really interesting research, has this book called Predictably Irrational. I suggest you read it. It's a great book. But he shows some really cool experiments, right? And one of them is what happens when you go out to eat with other people. And essentially what he shows is that most people will not order the same thing as the other people who've ordered before them at the table, right? So let's say you go out to dinner with friends, it's 4 of you, and you look at the menu and you really, really, really want the salmon. But the person before you, your friend, orders the salmon. A lot of times you won't order the salmon, right? You'll decide to do something like it's a chicken, which no one has ordered. On its face, a waiter or waitress or a marketer, or the owner of a restaurant might think to themselves, wow, people really are starting to like this chicken dish. We should, have more of the chicken. Chicken is good, yada, yada, yada. But it could be that more people are ordering chicken because they find themselves in these kind of situations, less so than they actually like the chicken. So just looking at someone's behavior, in this case ordering chicken, is not enough to actually say definitively that they ordered chicken because they like chicken. So again, something interesting that we need to know about consumers: what are their actual preferences, as opposed to what do they purchase or consume based on peer pressure or environmental stimuli. Reasons 6 and 7 to study consumer behavior. One, we want to know how consumers make decisions. You'll find out when we go over judgment and decision making, we still use a fairly old model of consumer decision making, and it's a fairly standard model. But that model doesn't necessarily apply to things like anime, or it doesn't necessarily apply to things like, sports cars. And so we constantly need to update what we know to understand how consumers make decisions. We also want to understand how to influence consumer decisions and decision making and behavior. Um, for example, there have been studies that have come out and said that millennials and maybe even Gen Z, I believe this is true, are less likely to buy cars, right? So a lot of car companies are targeting these groups, but for the most part, they've purchased cars at a lower rate. And in fact, a lot of millennials and Gen Z consumers tend to say that they like public transportation. I know I certainly do. Um, and so, how do we get people to be interested in cars? If you're GM, if you're Ford, if you're a person who lives in Detroit and you want to make sure that auto workers have jobs and you want to make sure that these huge companies don't leave Detroit, then you have a vested interest in understanding how consumers make decisions in terms of buying cars, right? And all the things that go into that. Well, we need to understand consumer behavior and study consumer behavior to do that. You can also use consumer behavior to help you with new product development. So the innovation imperative is important to business. You really need continuous innovation. We can look at an example of Netflix, right? So Netflix started out and saying, hey, we're going to send you DVDs that you can use at any time, right? So you can order this DVD and keep it as long as you want and then send it back. Then Netflix said, hey, no, we're just going to put the movies online. So we're going to get rights to these movies, streaming rights to these movies and put them online. Okay, fine. Then Netflix said, hey, we're going to spend money and we're going to create our own big budget movies. We're going to create our own television series. Okay. Now Netflix is trying to move into the gaming category where they stream games, and they're doing that with arcade games like pinball or dominoes, but they're also trying to do it with more kind of role play games and so on and so forth. Consumer behavior can help you generate ideas, so it could help you uncover the best possible set of unmet consumer needs or technological innovation, excuse me. Technology information, same deal. Consumer behavior can help you in the concept testing phase and in commercialization. An example of new products that came out last year, Heinz came out with some new products. Hanch, which is a hot sauce ranch. They came with some kind of wasabi and garlic aioli. They call it wasabioli. I don't know. And then tarchup, which is tartar sauce and ketchup. I don't know why exactly it's red though. Maybe it's a spicy tartar sauce. I don't know. I assume that Heinz has done a lot of new product development. They've done a lot of market testing, and they've solicited opinions. I am interested in these products, not in actually eating them though. They look weird to me. But I am interested in hearing how they taste. So if you, as a consumer, have tried these products, feel free to reach out to me and let me know your thoughts. Because just kind of looking at them, they look kind of weird. I don't know. Also, reach out to me if you have a different opinion. If you looked at this slide and said deliciousness, let me know. I'm interested. We also study consumer behavior to understand things like consumer pricing psychology. So, psychological pricing, which is a subset of pricing strategies, is commonly used to impact consumer behavior. Research has shown that certain ways of formatting prices can spark a subconscious response from a consumer and encourage purchase, right? At the same time, there are other things that marketers can do in terms of pricing psychology to actually impact how consumers understand, appreciate, and buy products. And I'll talk about a few in the next couple of slides. So one pricing psychology phenomena would be odd even pricing. So odd pricing refers to a price ending in an odd number. So 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Even pricing refers to price endings in a whole number. So $20 or $20.50. Odd pricing tends to be more popular because in the minds of consumers, it represents a deal. So $9.99 represents a deal to a consumer significantly more so than, $20 or $10. And specifically, research has shown that consumers really do think that $9.99 is more of a deal than $10. And so what we tend to see is that brands or companies that want to say, hey, our products are a deal, tend to use more odd pricing. So Target is more likely to use odd pricing when you go into stores. Most of their price points will end in a 1, a 3, a 5, a 7, or a 9. Whereas a company like Neiman Marcus, a luxury brand, they tend to use even pricing because they want to create this perception that their products are premium, right? That their products are luxurious. Other pricing, and there are many, I'm just using a few. I'm just taking a few examples for this class. Another pricing psychology phenomena would be everyday low pricing, EDLP, which involves kind of charging a constant everyday low price with few or no temporary price discounts. We see this at Walmart, right? So Walmart is really well known for EDLP, much more so than most retailers. On the other hand, you could look at high-low pricing, which involves changing higher prices on an everyday basis, but running frequent promotions to lower prices temporarily on selected prices or selected items. So J.C. Penney's will do this. Kohl's is famous for doing this, which is why I don't shop at Kohl's. I feel like it's just a game at some point. I like what day to go to the store. You get kind of anxious about it. J.C. Penney's is an interesting case though because they moved away from high-low pricing for a while, right? Remember when they said, "Hey, we're not going to run high-low pricing anymore. We're just going to have this everyday price, yada yada yada." And they failed miserably. Why did they fail miserably? Well, the customers that shop at J.C. Penney's, which are likely the same ones that shop at Kohl's, tend to really like high-low pricing. They like coming in with coupons. They like finding a deal. And so again, this goes back to understanding consumer behavior and studying consumer behavior. I would argue that JCPenney's did not do enough, first of all, thinking and strategizing, but they also didn't do enough research on who their consumer is to uncover the fact that their consumers like these things. And so I think that was a mistake on the part or a misstep on the part of JCPenney's. Consumer behavior also allows us to identify and test new marketing and advertising strategies. So one of the things that we can do, and one of the things that we do as consumer behavior researchers, is that we look at how things like word of mouth, hype, and viral marketing affect market offerings, right? And consumer perceptions and attitudes towards market offerings. So how does word of mouth, which is defined as this informal person-to-person communication between a perceived non-commercial, and this is important, a non-commercial communicator, so someone who is not a brand representative. So, technically you could say a social media person being paid by the brand is spreading word of mouth, but one issue that we have is that a lot of people don't necessarily know that the social media person is actually a brand ambassador. Anyway, when they kind of recommend a product or service, that's considered word of mouth. What happens when, and in fact I'm actually in the process of doing some research now, and we've run a couple of studies. What happens when people realize that the person is a member of the or being paid by the brand? So one of the things that we know is that social media influencers are often highly regarded. People trust them quite a bit. They consider them to be authentic. People really buy into whatever it is that these people are saying. On the other hand, what happens when consumers find out that these influencers are actually being paid by brands to recommend certain products? Do people believe that they're less trustworthy? Do people believe that the product itself is less likely to be actually good, right? So one area where this is happening a lot actually is in DTCA, or as I mentioned before, direct to consumer advertising of pharmaceutical products. So people, influencers, are out here recommending things like acne medicine, which is problematic because people, doctors prescribe that product as a prescription drug, and they're not telling people that they're being paid by the company that manufactures the product, right, or the marketing company. And what happens when people find out that they are being paid? Research is also looking is also used to look into things like hype, activities that are put in motion to create excitement before the actual appearance of a new product or service. So, for example, I was at the Orange Bowl. Before activities started, they had an ad for a movie that's coming out about a football team, because they wanted to create some form of hype. There's research that also looks at viral marketing, right? So, viral marketing, this idea that people pass on marketing messages voluntarily, using their pre-existing social networks. There's a ton of research in consumer behavior that looks at the impact of viral marketing. How does viral marketing spread? What makes ads go viral? What makes someone decide to kind of pass along a message, so on and so forth. Those kind of things are studied to create greater understanding of how marketing and advertising strategies work.